Let's check my... Yes, the sound is good. I'm using one of these newfangled wireless Rode mics, which is quite good. And I hope that it's working, and I hope you can hear me, because I've got a bit of a story to tell. And the story involves myself and Hazel. It's not paranormal, although it is quite a sad story. They've got loads of buggies around here. It's like a Bond set, for like a villain's lair, with all these buggies they've got driving around. So, as I say, the story is where myself and Hazel had our honeymoon all those years ago, 16 years, well, yeah, 16 years ago now. And it would have been today, wouldn't it, that we arrived in this village?
Yeah, we went to my mum and dad's for lunch.
Yeah.
And then we went off to...
Did we? See, I can't...
It wasn't our planned honeymoon, was it? It wasn't our intended honeymoon.
Our intended honeymoon, sort of, which actually I'm quite glad of, because our intended honeymoon was going abroad. But to be honest, I think we got the better of the deal, because we got a free cottage, which belongs to Hazel's uncle and aunt. So they let us use their cottage in this very, very well-known village. And also, well, historical village, I should say, because it is quite an old village, very old village. And also, it was roasting hot. The week we got married, it was absolutely roasting hot. And we were glad of this cottage because it was so, the walls were so thick and stone, pure stone, that it sort of kept the heat in during the night, but it was very nice and cold during the day. Do you remember that? How lovely it was. Anyway, the place we're going, the village we're going to, has got a very sad but historical and interesting story to it. And it is a village in Derbyshire called Eyam, or Eyam, how you pronounce it. Eyam, E-Y-A-M. And the story is that in the 1600s, there was, we were inundated. It was the 1600s, 17th century. We were inundated with the plague. And what happened was, there was the village is very well known as a plague village. And it all happened, it was transported there, the actual disease, the illness was transported there from London. It was transported in by a textile salesman. So this textile salesman had made his way by coach to Derbyshire and to the village of Eyam. And his goods, his cloth was wet. And what he'd done is he'd booked in somewhere into this cottage with his family, and he'd put his cloth out to dry in front of the fire. Now, when the cloth dried and became warm, the actual what would they be? They'd be
spores, weren't they?
they'd be like lice, wouldn't they? Type of a lice or something. It was a lice. They became active. They became very active, and they were carrying the plague. They were, what do you call them? Fleas. They were fleas, and they became active, and they were ridden, absolutely rotten with the plague. And so subsequently they bit a couple of villagers. They ended up with the plague. Anyway, the whole place is more or less a graveyard or a cemetery. They didn't have time to bury a lot of the people in the graveyard that's there, so a lot of people are actually buried in and around the houses, aren't they? They're actually buried in the streets. And there's it's well known because there was not just for the, well, it is the plague, but there was a vicar there called Mompesson. And Mompesson decided that what he would do is he would try and isolate the village so that the plague didn't spread any further out.
Which was quite forward thinking, really, because obviously they didn't know it was the plague. They didn't know how it was spread.
No.
They didn't know anything about what was going on in London at the time.
No, absolutely not.
It was quite revolutionary just to say, right, well, we're not going to spread this to anybody outside the village. We're going to just hold ourselves here and not.
Do you know, Hayes was absolutely right. And it's at a time when people used to treat the plague with, they used to put raw onions on the sores, or what they call it, they've got a name for them, haven't they? Buboes or buboes, which are open sores that you would get from the plague, and they would put raw onions on it and hoping that it was, so they weren't really that au fait with science. I mean, obviously, you know, it was very basic then, so they didn't really know how to deal with it. So anyway, they this vicar Mompesson and the villagers, brave souls that they were, decided that what they would do is they would isolate themselves from the rest of the world. And at one end they had, I believe it was a well, wasn't it, where they would get their water from. and at the other end there was you walk up through the village up to a stone, and there's a stone, and it's kind of worn away,
It's got
little holes in it.
isn't it?
And apparently what they did is they would send out for food, but rather than meet the villagers and take it off of them face to face, they would walk up to where this rock is, put their money in the holes, which were filled with vinegar. And they believed that the vinegar was, I kind of guess, a natural antiseptic towards the plague. So they would put their money in amongst the vinegar in the holes in this big rock, and
The boundary stone.
it was the boundary stone, that's what it's called. And then what happens, the villagers would, or the outside world would leave their provisions and food and what have you by the rock. They would come up, take them away, and leave their money in these little potholes or little pools of vinegar in the boundary stone. There was an awful lot of death there. I wouldn't do it as people have said to me, would you do it as a paranormal investigation? Well, no, I wouldn't, because I think it would be disrespectful, because there's a lot of women and children that passed away there as well, and it's just such a sad story and heartbreaking that I feel that I wouldn't do it justice, and I don't really want to go in and treat that like a sideshow. Need some level of respect, don't you? That's what I draw the line at. Anyway, we're going there today, so you'll see a little bit of the village, and you might get an idea of, it's very pretty, very rural. We loved it, didn't we, when we were there? It's absolutely stunning. So follow us, guys, and hopefully you'll enjoy the views and the history of the village and walking around it. See you when we get there. Right, so we're coming into the village of Eyam now. Eyam. And this is the market square here, as you can see. This is where myself and Hazel spent our honeymoon. Is that your uncle's car?
I don't know.
That's your uncle's car?
I don't know if it is or not.
Right, so Hazel's uncle and aunt, as I said, have got a house here, a cottage.
It's just there. That one there.
It's there, corner cottage, and I'm not sure. It looks like it might be here. I don't know, actually. We'll see. But the village itself is absolutely gorgeous. I'll give you a proper view of it in a sec. So, I'll be completely honest with you, I forgot actually how beautiful Derbyshire is. It really is a stunning county. And I really forgot how pretty this little village is. So, I'll just give you a look around. So, this is the Plague Village. So, turn you around. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's up there. There's a little village shop on the left there, as you can probably see. Right, okay. Are you all right, Willow? You look very dishevelled. So have a little walk over here and see what we can see. But it is absolutely pretty, very pretty. So it was probably, well, it wasn't probably, it was. Every single one, more or less, of these cottages had people die in them. And a lot of them are actually buried under the ground that we're walking on at the moment. You might, I think last time they had some headstones up here. We'll have to have a look now and see. There was a list of people who passed away in this village. Trying to get my bearings. Find exactly where we are. So the Miners' Arms, a little pub through there, you can see. And it's tiny, it's a tiny little village. And then this is where Hazel and myself used to have breakfast every morning when we first got married and we had our honeymoon here. There you go. So, bull ring. So there's the bull ring there. They attach the bear. And used to use it for entertaining, bless them. Bless the bear, not the people. And this is John Torres' house, so. So the whole family died in there. John Torres and his child and wife. But it is super, super pretty, as you can see. Let's go. There was a list up here of people that died in the plague. There's little tea rooms over there, EM team rooms. Oh, it's closed, never mind. There's the Miners' Arms. Just gorgeous. Lydgate over there. It's breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. There's Hazel and the kids. Hazel checking to see if her uncle's in, I should think. No, she's not. Are you checking? Lily over there. Bouncing with excitement as usual, as you can see. So yeah, so the village itself, as I say, it's historical because of the plague. All the properties had some form of death from that period associated with them. In actual fact, the whole village is more or less a graveyard. And as I said earlier, there's lots of people buried under your very feet, really, because they didn't have time. They were dying so quickly and so fast. To try and stop the spread of the disease, they were burying them as and where more or less they fell. But you can imagine, going back to that period, the sort of 17th century, you can imagine the horror, the fear, and the sadness that was in this village. And that's why I will never ever do a ghost hunt here, because I don't think it's respectful, because so many families did actually die in this village. But sorry about that, that's the bus. But it is absolutely stunning. And there's lots of little stories attached, little fables and stories and myths and legends attached to the village itself. And even outside where you came in, there's a little, almost like a little village that you drive through. It's more or less a one-horse town. It's a road, really. And as you come through it, there's a story of a young lady who, it was a love story, really. She thought that her boyfriend or her lover had been killed, and she went to the top of the rocks, like a little mountain, but top of this rock cliff, and she threw herself off of there and hoped that she would kill herself. But of the period, the clothes that they wore, she wore lots of petticoats and great big skirt, outward skirt, and as she jumped off, the wind caught it and it kind of glided her down like a parachute. I know it sounds incredible, but apparently it's a true story, and who am I to argue with that? Hazel, do you remember this? This place?
Yeah, we used to go there for breakfast.
We used to go there for breakfast, didn't we?
10-item breakfast we used to have.
10-item breakfast you used to have?
Yeah.
I used to sit there watching them mummy eat because I couldn't afford it.
We went in the garden.
What, your uncle's garden?
Yeah.
Oh
I'm not convinced that
dear.
there's nobody here because the windows are open.
Yeah, but that's closed. It says closed on it.
Oh, closed for a family holiday.
Yeah. How dare they take a holiday?
Tomorrow.
I need bread.
Of course you need a wee. So we're going to walk up. Do you want to walk up to the Miners' Arms? Just here?
Yeah.
We're going to walk up to the Miners' Arms. Although it used to have a list in there on the wall of the people that had passed. You can't really see it.
Just a wait.
I'm not going to video that. So it's a super, super pretty little village. Absolutely stunning. And you know me in history, I absolutely love it. And so, to me, this was the perfect place to sort of honeymoon and holiday as well. We've holidayed here as well. But it brings back a lot of memories when love was at its dawn and at its best. Not so much now. But till Hazel, I said that. Right. Has the boy finished?
Yeah, all done then.
Right. As Lily looks excited as ever.
She's always excited.
Super excited, Lily. Nice. She is. Miners' Arms. Right, so I'm just about to walk into the cemetery, Eyam Church, where Montpesson is buried. Now, as I say, he was a very, very brave man. He was the guy who made the decision to sort of cordon off the village so that the disease or the plague wouldn't spread. And his tomb is in here somewhere. I think it might be over there, but we're going to have a look. Sadly, unfortunately, he lost his wife during the plague, but he stayed on after. He survived it, but he stayed on after. So have a look at the church. It's gorgeous.
This really is a gorgeous village, guys. I think, if memory serves me right, I think he's here. See, look at these ancient graves, look. '8th century AD, Celtic cross. Now, is this, that's just, I can't remember. Right, so this is Catherine, this is his wife. I thought it was him, but no, apparently it's his wife. So this is a lady who died of the plague. And there's her resting place. I'm sure Montpestum is in here somewhere. I'm assuming in there, or so he's entombed here somewhere, he's buried here somewhere, I'm sure of it. Anyway, let's have a look inside the church, because inside the church there is a crate made from the box that the sorry, bear with me. There's a crate that was actually fashioned from the box that the cloth was brought in, the cloth containing the plague, or the fleas from the plague. It's in here. Let's have a look. That's it over there. Look at it right there. And that cave of it was part of it. So this is the church, obviously. Have a look at these friezes on the walls, these medieval, ancient friezes. Just beautiful. Be breathtaking. So here you go, guys. As you can see, and up here is the actual church. Hang on, is the actual church. Sorry, up here, not church, beg your pardon. Up here is the actual cottage, the plague cottage, and this is where it was brought in. This is where the this is where the cloth was brought in. This is where the guy stayed, and this was where it broke out. This was the first casualties of the plague, and it was in that cottage there. Beautiful though, absolutely stunning. So as I say, it's only a tiny, tiny, tiny little village. There's nothing to it really, but it is ever so pretty, ever so quaint, ever so quintessentially English. There's another one over here. Let's go over there, have a look at the plaque over there. And that's just a sample. That's just a few of the names and a few of the souls that lived here that passed away because of the plague. But it's a lovely little village, and I'm afraid that there's a lot more can be said about it. But it's worth a visit. It's definitely worth looking at, especially if you're like me and you're into history. Even if you're not, even if you just like pretty little villages, as I say, it's quintessentially English. So pop along and have a look. So I'm going to go up there now and see what's up there. They've ambled off up there. There's another one, guys. All plague deaths. And then up here, which is what Derbyshire is renowned for, is a well somewhere. And they dress these. Oh no, this is the sheep. Well, they have a roast sheep. There is a well around here somewhere. We'll see if we can find it. So right over there you have Eyam Hall, the residence of the local landed gentry, as was. It's fell into sort of public hands now, I believe. Noisy motorbike. And you go around to a little bit of a village green, and those are the original stocks that are there. So the windows up there, one of the windows up there has actually got an etching in it. It's got some writing, and it was one of the squire's sons done it in the 19th century, sort of around about mid-1800s. And I believe it's a love poem, or it's something along those lines. But we've seen it. We saw it quite a few years ago when we were last here. It's a very, very cool thing to see. The calligraphy, the handwriting was just superb in those days. Absolutely stunning. But that itself is a major part of the history of Eyam as well. So as you can see, it's stunning, absolutely stunning little village. And like I said, I would definitely give it a thumbs up and say if you ever get the opportunity, come and visit it. You won't regret it. It's lovely. You can have cream teas. You can have lunches. There's some lovely little cafes. There's the pubs, or one pub. There's also a club that's in the village. But it's absolutely lovely. I'd live at the drop of a hat. If I knew I had a hat to drop. But yeah, so that's about it, I think. We're going to drive back now. I think we've more or less seen everything in the village. As I say, it's not a massive village, so you can sort of cover it. But, and I've given you a potted history. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that. Personal stories and lots of stuff that are actually been recorded. But, you know, I'm giving you a potted history of the village, and probably not doing it justice. It's stunning. Come and have a look.